Americans are waking up to a whole new economic reality this morning as President Trump's new global tariffs could mean higher prices for many products. But U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is a big advocate for what these tariffs could mean on the plus side. He's defending the president's plan, and he joins us now. Secretary Lutnick, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I think a lot of people understand the rationale in the long term. This could bring manufacturing back to America, could mean more American jobs. But Senator Kennedy of Louisiana last night said, yep, you're right in the long term, but in the long term, we're all dead. So how long are we going to have to wait for the benefits to come pouring in?
Well, you started hearing it recently when Donald Trump yesterday said we have about $5 trillion of committed investment to America. $5 trillion. That means people are going to start building factories right now. And that means all that construction work begins now. That starts to employ Americans today. You're going to see plants being built, factories rebuilding. All shifts are going to be running hot across America now. You're going to see employment leaping starting today.
So if employment, in fact, leaps, and we'll come back to that, it may not help much if prices themselves are also going up. So let's just level with people. In the short term, every economist seems to think the prices will go up. Should people be prepared for that, and for how long?
Well, I think you have to sort of understand how things work. When tariffs come into place, foreign goods may become a little more expensive, but domestic goods do not. So if you're looking at Poland Springs water versus, something, let's say, Fiji water, the Poland Springs is not going to be more expensive. So for the first time in your lives, you're going to actually think about the Americans who make the products, the Americans who produce these products and work in these factories. It's time for us to take care of them instead of taking care of the world. Our economic policy took care of the world, and look where it led us. It led us to a $36 trillion deficit, which our children and our grandchildren are going to have to pay. Donald Trump is here to protect America. Finally, we have a president who's here to protect America and American workers.
Yeah, Mr. Secretary, you're right. Things made here in the U.S. will not have any added cost to them. But so much of our economy, you know this very well, is now made up of products that we bring in from overseas, electronics and shoes and you name it. So for those things, they could go up. In the short term, when you talk about jobs, one of the worries is that companies will try to cut costs, and that could actually mean drawing back unemployment. Are you concerned in the short term, forget about prices, that unemployment could tick up?
Well, I don't think so. You saw in March, 150,000 jobs. That's people getting ahead of these tariffs. The beginning starts now. Factories are going in the ground now. We've got to cut the red tape around regulations and permits to get these factories built. But you really need to understand the reordering of the global economy now. America has been the place where we bought everybody else's goods, and we let them rip our factories apart. It's now time to rebuild our factories, to rebuild our manufacturing base, allow us to grow and build, and the world will just have to wait a little while we do that. But what will happen is we'll balance our budget, we'll balance factories being built in America. America will be the most extraordinary, the most powerful place, and Americans are behind Donald Trump. That's why they elected him.
Mr. Secretary, economists clearly are not at the moment. They think this is going to be trouble. Many investors also seem to think it's going to be trouble. We saw the markets crash overnight in the futures market. If the market here in the U.S. opens at 9 a.m. and things head south, is there a red line for you pulling back and saying, OK, hold on, we're going to rethink things?
No, come on. The markets, when Donald Trump was the president last time, he put on tariffs. And if you go back and look at that news, everybody said, oh, my gosh, oh, my gosh. And the stock market, as you heard him say yesterday, up 88% during his presidency. So what you've got to realize is, sure, there's going to be some short-term movement, but this is a reordering of global trade. It's time for America to manufacture again. And I think these changes in the stock market, while they're initial, long-term, you've got to assume, and medium-term, and employment-based, you're going to see America thrive. Interest rates are going to come down, as we said, and America is going to thrive. And that's what Donald Trump is about. He's about employing Americans, building in America, and having Americans be the winners.
Hey, Mr. Secretary, before you go on a slightly different topic, I have to ask you about Social Security. It's something I hear about a lot when I talk to people out there who watch the show. Older Americans are worried about cuts. You made a comment a couple weeks ago that if seniors missed a Social Security check, they wouldn't notice. They'd think there's just a little minor problem, and that the people who complain are the fraudsters. What did you mean by that?
That's not what I said. Look, that's not what I said. What I said, and let's be clear, is that we are not going to touch one Social Security check to one person ever who deserves it. What we're trying to find is the people who don't deserve it. And what you know, if you're in the payments business, is that fraudsters yell the most. But we're not touching one person's payment. Please don't take my Social Security comments out of context. Donald Trump is behind not changing one thing. Every politician you've ever met on these shows has always said one thing. In order to save Social Security, we've got to move the payments later. That is the opposite of Donald Trump. He says, let's get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, and let's make sure every American gets every check they deserve. That's Donald Trump. I want to make it crystal clear. We're not touching anybody's payments, and that's just taking my statements out of context.
No one's taking them out of context, Secretary Lutnick. So you're saying, what I'm hearing is that any senior who was worried or complained, you're not saying they're fraudsters. They have a right to worry, but you're saying, actually, don't worry. It's going to be okay. I hear you. I wonder if the seniors will. Thank you very much, Secretary Lutnick. Appreciate your time this morning.
You're welcome. Great to see you.
Great to see you as well.